Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Katrina Campos-Arconi-Stubbs, and I'll be your moderator today. Je serai votre modératrice aujourd'hui. Thank you for joining us for today's media availability on the completion of the O-Train South Extension trial running period and the next steps. Merci de vous joindre à nous pour ce point de presse sur l'achèvement de rodage sur le prolongement de l'O-Train vers le sud et prochaine étape. Our media availability is available in both French and English. If you would like to use audio interpretation, please click on the interpretation globe icon in the bottom menu. Then select your preferred language. You can ask your questions in the language of your choice, and a reminder that the meeting is being recorded. Ce point de presse est disponible en français ou en anglais. Si vous souhaitez bénéficier d'une interprétation audio, cliquez sur l'icône de globe d'interprétation dans le menu du bas, puis sélectionnez votre langue de choix. Vous pouvez poser vos questions dans la langue de votre choix et cette réunion est enregistrée. Today's media availability will include opening remarks from Renee Amilcar, General Manager of Transit Services, and Troy Charter, Director of Transit Service Delivery and Rail Operations. Le point de presse aujourd'hui comprendra des remarques préliminaires de Renée Amilcar, Directrice Générale Service de Transport en Commun, et de Troy Charter, Directeur Service de Transport en Commun et Opérations Ferroviaires. I'll now pass things over to Renee. Je vais maintenant passer la parole à Renée.
Merci beaucoup, Katrina. Bon après-midi, tout le monde. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm pleased to be here with you today alongside Troy Charter, Director of Transit Service Delivery and Rail Operations. We will be providing you with an overview of the completion of trial running and outline our final steps that need to be completed before line 2 and 4 can open. I would like to take this time to thank everyone who played a role in the completion of trial running. Running a railway is complex and requires a well-trained and highly skilled team. This milestone has been years in the making, and I cannot stress enough how pleased I am with the level of teamwork that we have seen. Trial running has heightened both OC Transpose and Transit Next understanding and familiarity of operating O-Train lines 2 and 4. This is a significant milestone, and I commend everyone who played a role in getting us to where we are today. After completing 21 days of trial running, our collective focus has now shifted to achieving substantial completion. We know many customers are eager for this new rail system to open, and we are just as thrilled to bring the O-Train to Ottawa's southern communities, the airport, and other key destinations. We also know that the number of one question on everyone's mind today is, when is the system going to open? While we cannot provide an opening date today, a technical briefing will occur in the coming weeks to provide further information on the opening of lines 2 and line 4. As we mentioned previously, there would be a minimum of 2 weeks required after trial running to close out outstanding tasks. We are working closely with Transit Next and the project's independent certifier to achieve substantial completion. This is the final step before the system is handed over to the City of Ottawa. An independent certifier will certify that the contract requirements outlined in the project agreement have been met. Over the coming weeks, we will be completing outstanding items that must be addressed prior to substantial completion. As we shared earlier, train movements on line 2 and line 4 were suspended for 3 days this week to allow Transit Next to safely conduct minor construction activities. This included track maintenance, graffiti removal, and other works required as we work towards achieving substantial completion. Minor construction activities will continue to take place over the coming weeks across the project. This includes completing a system-wide cleaning and placing the final touches on our stations, park and rides, and other components within the rail system that are required for substantial completion. We are also performing final inspections of our rail infrastructure This includes our many bridges, overpasses, stations, track, the Dow's Lake Tunnel, and other critical system components. As we work towards substantial completion, the independent certifier will play a crucial role in ensuring that all contractual requirements outlined in the project agreement have been met. This third-party entity will collaborate with the city and Transit Next to verify compliance and identify any outstanding issues that require resolution. In parallel to all this work, OC Transport will also be undertaking final readiness activities. While Troy will explain further, this will include drills, exercises, and the continued application of our standard operation procedures. As I close out my comments, I want you to know that while we have not reached the finish line, we are in the home stretch. We are completing important activities that will help ensure the system is ready for customers on day one. Now, I will invite Troy to provide you a recap of the second phase of trial running and explain our next steps over the coming weeks. Troy, s'il vous plaît.
Great. Thank you. Merci, René. The second phase of trial running, focusing on operational maintenance evaluations, successfully concluded at the end of service on October 27th. During this phase, OC Transpo and Transit Next collaborated on various test scenarios to validate and finalize our standard operating procedures, while also enhancing their understanding of the new system. This period emphasized operating the rail system in scenarios that require staff to effectively respond to a range of potential issues that could be encountered in daily operations. We operated a total of 15 different test scenarios, including removing trains from service, launching and reducing trains, operating diversions or what we call alternate service patterns, and activating emergency response equipment such as the tunnel ventilation system in the Dow's Lake Tunnel. Overall, the 7 days were a success with no major gaps identified. Staff from both OC and Transit Next gained valuable practical experience. Before I discuss next steps, I'd also like to echo René's thanks and appreciation to all our staff who helped us successfully complete trial running and who continue to work hard to get ready for revenue service. Having now completed trial running, our focus has shifted to achieving substantial completion, obtaining the necessary regulatory approvals, and completing final readiness activities. These critical milestones are anticipated to occur over a minimum of a 3-week period. As Madame Amilcar mentioned, substantial completion is the final step before the system is handed over to the City of Ottawa. An independent certifier will certify that the contract requirements outlined in the project agreement have been met. In addition to substantial completion, there are regulatory and certification requirements that must be achieved prior to passenger service. OC Transpo has been proactively engaged with all parties, including Transport Canada and the Canadian Transportation Agency, to ensure that this process is efficient, thorough, to everyone's requirements and overall satisfaction. Over the coming weeks, we'll continue operations of the line, exercising all aspects of daily service, including launch and reduction of trains, maintenance of the vehicles, as well as the related infrastructure, and how we respond to various incidents. We will be reviewing our standard operating procedures, our roles and responsibilities, and communications with both internal and external partners. We will be conducting additional drills and exercises based on real situations that staff will encounter while in service, including troubleshooting of common train issues such as train doors, service recovery from a short delay, and responding to passenger emergencies and passenger emergency intercom calls to the operator, as well as medical emergencies. We have also planned for 2 further multi-stakeholder drills involving our emergency response partners. The first exercise will simulate a situation where emergency responders will need to cross the rail line to respond to an emergency at the Ottawa Airport, and the second exercise will be an emergency involving a train in the Dow's Lake Tunnel. We will also be conducting a dress rehearsal using city staff who are unfamiliar with the system. This will help us understand how users will access the stations, the trains, where they'll be looking for information, and gives us our first real opportunity for our operators to get the feel and look of entering and exiting stations with customers on the platforms. During the dress rehearsal, there will also be a number of what we call unannounced scenarios or injects, where we'll assess our team's response to various incidents, and it will test and assess their knowledge of our standard operating procedures. All these initiatives are essential for enhancing our operational readiness as we progress towards the launch of passenger service. We are very excited to move forward with these next steps, and we'll continue to provide updates on our progress. So at this time, I'll hand things back over to Katrina. Merci.
Thank you, Troy. Merci, René. I'll ask each agency in alphabetical order to ask one question and one follow-up. Je vais maintenant inviter chaque organisme de presse par ordre alphabétique à poser une question et une suivie. Nous allons commencer par Emma Wheeler at CBC.
Hi there, thank you. My question today, like you said, I feel like a lot of us were probably expecting, a date announced. We talked to, students today. They were pretty excited that, something might be coming down the pipeline. But is there a timeline as to when it will be up and running? I know you said it's a minimum 3 weeks, but is there any estimate you could give us at this time?
Thank you for the question. The only thing that I can say today, it's we are aiming to have the technical briefing for the week of 18th. So at that time, we will be able to be firm on the opening date.
Okay, great, thank you. And I just wanted to confirm, based on the memo, that have you gotten approval from Transport Canada or a certificate from Canadian Transportation Agency?
Sorry, what is the question? If we have received it?
If you've gotten regulatory approval from Transport Canada to operate the line?
We will need to have it, yes.
So you haven't got it yet?
No, not yet. We haven't submitted, and we still have a job to do, and we will submit it as soon as possible. It's not a concern moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll go on to Gabrielle Houston at CBC. Okay, I don't think Gabrielle's here. So moving on to Ted Raymond at CTV.
Hi there. My question is for Madame Amilcar. You had previously said you were aiming for kind of a mid-November launch. You're now saying your technical briefing will be the week of the 18th, when you might have that firm date. So are we looking at something a little bit later in November or early December?
I will be more than happy to give a firm date when we will have the briefing technique. It will be sure, so no speculation, but we are almost there.
Okay. When the line does launch, are you planning to have the first day of service on a weekend or on a weekday?
So we'll have a dress rehearsal for sure during the weekend, and the dress rehearsal will be with our employees. And then we'll, during the briefing technique, I will provide how we're going to move to a soft launch. So it will be a soft launch. It will not be a launch. We will not rush the system. So I will explain that when I will present the briefing technique.
Thank you. La prochaine, c'est Charles-Antoine Gagnon, Le Droit.
Charles-Antoine Gagnon, Le Droit newspaper. If I understand correctly, from the question from my colleague, when you talk about a soft launch, so that wouldn't be a Wednesday at rush hour, it's likely to be a weekend or something like that. Well, what is certain is that we'll take the weekend to do our dress rehearsal. So we'll do a simulation with actual people, and then we'll do a softer opening, and we'll share with you after the technical briefing when we intend to actually launch the service. You need to be a bit more patient. Do you have an idea of the number of passengers on a daily basis that are expected on line 2 and 4? Do you have an idea of the number of passengers you're expecting? Well, we have a capacity of 500 people per train. There are 12 buses serving this route currently, so we don't have an exact figure. But one thing is sure, we do hope that we'll be able to attract more passengers when the train is launched. And of course, we'll keep an eye on that, and we have capacity to actually move those people around.
Okay, we'll move on to Blair Crawford at the Ottawa Citizen.
Good afternoon. I guess this question is for Mr. Charter. The city put out a post about the emergency exercise plan for Saturday at Regional Road 174. I wonder if you could just give us some more details about what you're going to be simulating, who all is involved in that, and what people might expect to see if they're going through the area.
Are you referring to the emergency exercise with the Ottawa Airport?
No, the city has something on its site about exercise, I think this Saturday at 174 in Blair Road.
Yeah, it's for the it's for the 170 drive.
So that's with respect to the Line 1 East extension. And as part of our preparation activities, there's a number of drills and exercises involving our emergency response partners on that line as well. And what we're looking at there is there'll be a scenario in which it will be with some customers, or not. Sorry, we won't have customers on the train, but we'll have a train stopping on the overpass, and we want to assess, look at our, how we'd go about doing that in our standard operating procedures and those types of things. So it's about the overpass, but that's just part of our preparation activities for the east extension of Line 1.
Okay, good. Thanks very much.
La prochaine, c'est Emmanuel Poisson, Radio-Canada.
Emmanuel Poisson from CBC. Hello, my question is for Ms. Amilcar. Ms. Amilcar, if I understand correctly, there won't be, the system won't be open before the 18th of November. This isn't the first time that the train's opening has been delayed. People are disheartened. Some people are impatient. And what would you say to those people? If you can tell us in French, when you'll be able to give us a date for the opening. Thank you for the question. We're not delaying anything, and we haven't been for the past few months. I've been saying that we didn't want to disappoint people. That's why we didn't give a date. We wanted to do things properly. We want to make sure that we're crossing our I's and crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So we did say mid-November. And I've just said that there will be a technical briefing on the 18th of November. At that time, we'll give you a firm date for the opening. Thank you very much. Next question for you as well. So the regulatory requirements, certificates that you have to obtain, are you afraid that there might be delays with Transport Canada or the agency? Have you thought about this? What will you do if this happens? Could you tell us? Well, we've been working with them for years. This isn't new, and there won't be any surprises, I don't think. However, all things being equal, nothing's ever perfect, but we're confident, and we're continuing to work with them, with Transport Canada. We've been working with them for the past years. In fact, we're continuing to do that, and we don't think that there'll be any issues there. Thank you very much. Frédéric Pépin, French CBC, Ms. Amilcar, Transport Canada has to check the condition of the rails of the trains. Is this what's delaying the opening date? You don't know where this will happen? Not really. Well, when we did the trial running, there were things that we knew we weren't ready. Made us, in fact, not ready to open the service to passengers. This always happens in projects of this time. We had a list of what we needed for the trial running period. Now we have a list of what we need to get substantial completion. This is a very important stage because we'll be paying the contractor, and this means that we can actually launch the service the next day. It's very important to make sure that everything that needs to be done is done, in fact, and this is why we have an independent person who will be like the referee. If Transport Canada might say it's not done. We'll say it has been done, and he will intervene. And this is why we're confident that we will, at the end of the day, be ready for passenger service. And if I'm not mistaken, you said there would be a test, a rehearsal with passengers who would be involved in this rehearsal. Do you know when that's going to take place? That's our dress rehearsal, and this will take place using city employees. There are many volunteers. People want to use the system. There's a lot of excitement. We'll do this over the weekend, ideally a Saturday, and this is part of our readiness preparations. And we'll see whether we've resolved all the issues, and then we'll be able to open the service to fee-paying passengers. But you don't have a date for the dress rehearsal yet. No, we don't. Not a date, no.
My apologies. Madame Emilcar, could you describe the dress rehearsal in English, please?
Yes, the dress rehearsal consists to have real clients, but there will be our employees, and they will have a role to play. It will be about 200 people, and they will play with the system, with doors, and with the fare gates, etc. So we'll identify opportunities to improve the customer's experience when we will welcome our passengers.
Thank you.
Next is Shane Seguin at Railfans.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking our questions. My first question, it's not the kind of question I would usually ask in this sense because everybody's asked it already, but you haven't given a date. If we look back to line 1, when the date was announced, the opening was 3 weeks after that announcement. So now that you're talking about a soft launch, how would that play out? If you're telling us we'll get more information on the 18th, could it be that it would be a couple weeks after that, or would it open imminently after? Like how far after announcing the date would the opening be theoretically?
Thank you for the question. That will not necessarily be imminently, but that will not be very, very far neither.
Okay. And then my follow-up to that is, as we're approaching the holidays, if the opening window gets to that time period, would it still go ahead? Would it be slightly delayed? Or is it a situation of as soon as it's ready, it will open regardless of the time of year, weather, etc.?
The weather is not a concern to open the line. So we need to go to the substantial completion. And then as soon as we'll be there, we'll have this briefing technique and we'll announce a date. So it's almost imminent, that date. So if it's snowing, it will be the date. If it's raining, we will not stop opening the system because of the weather, because it's Ottawa and we will need to deal with it anyway, and the system is ready to deal with bad weather.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our media availability. Ceci conclut le point de presse aujourd'hui. Merci.